The attacks on my office staff were reprehensible. Even to the point of calling out specific employees was uncalled for. If you had a specific concern about anything that my staff has done or hasn't done, I would have appreciated a personal conversation as opposed to a public tongue lashing of municipal employees. As for being responsive to requests, many of the comments that were made are disingenuous. There is documented evidence of departments being quite responsive to city councilors' requests for information and resources. To have a councilor make a public statement that staff is encouraged not to be cooperative is deceptive and wrong.
In the course of the last week, a couple things that were interesting to me happened. I sent an email, just happened to send an email to one of our state reps, Maria Robinson. And I just happened to get it, and it was nothing urgent, but I happened to get a response in about 7 minutes. Well beyond what I expect. Well, again, nothing urgent. And that would be record-breaking, except for on the same day I happened to send an email to Bob Tremblay, the superintendent of schools. Again, nothing super urgent. And Dr. Tremblay responded in 4 minutes and looped in Lincoln Lynch and some other people again for a routine issue. All happened very quickly. It really was great teamwork, and I see it all the time. When we have these conversations, and when there are myriad emails that go unanswered, and I'm looking through my sent emails for just following up on this, haven't heard back, it's been another week, it's been a month, it's been 6 months, and I can go through the list. I would just, you're setting a tone of compliance and of complacency in this building, you and the mayor, I believe. And I think there are tremendous opportunities for us to meaningfully and successfully collaborate together and deliver results to the community, but it's incredibly hard to do so when leadership in this building, department heads, division heads are encouraged not to be cooperative and collaborative with members of the city council, and when emails and phone calls are not responded, it just makes it very difficult to serve the people that elected us.
Well, I just want to correct one thing. There is not an attempt to not be collaborative. There is no such message to division heads.
That is the feedback that I've gotten from multiple people within the building, and that's, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Keyser.
I had a constituent forward me an email the other day, and the constituent had sent a reasonable request, I think, to the mayor's office with, just some suggestions as to something that could be done, or not really suggestions, a request for something to be done. And he got back an email from the Citizen Participation Officer. That's the first thing I found a little interesting, like why is the Citizen Participation Officer answering emails for customer service type inquiries? So, but the email pretty much said, thank you for your email, we'll look into it, if anything else happens, we'll let you know. But the email really wasn't responsive. He was like asking for a specific answer, and you got this email like that said, thanks for contacting us, we'll call you back if we need to, but don't expect to hear from us, is the way I kind of read it, Whether they like the response or not, that doesn't even matter. But do they get a specific response to what they actually wrote, or do they just get the pro forma email which says, thanks for contacting us?
We all try to address all the issues that come in. There is incredible volume of email. It's a lot. And so there are those emails that are easily, quickly answered, and those that take some research or referrals to others that take some time. So we all do the best we can to keep up on it and be responsive.
The city has a customer service policy in the books for many years. Do we still abide by that policy?
I'm not, we try to do good customer service. I'm not familiar with the details of that policy.
Well, that's pretty unfortunate, because I think the policy says everyone should be aware of the details of it. So to hear the chief operating officer is not aware of it, I guess that means we're not following it too closely.
There are a lot of policies, and we're working our way. Right now, we're focused on updating ordinances. There's a new charter that's been done. A lot of focus on ordinances. Once that's packaged up and ready to be submitted, our intent is then to go through and get our arms around all of the existing policies, because there are known policies, and then there are policies that have been developed over the years that we want to make sure we have a complete inventory. And go through all the policies.
Well, Mr. Keyser, the customer service policy, I would not say is an unknown policy. It's been a highlighted policy here for many years. It was a focal point. That's why if you see the motto, so to speak, that's on your own stationery dedicated to excellence in public service. It's derived directly from the customer service policy. So the charter you refer to, of course, is 2 years old. And it just is concerning, and the bylaws you refer to, I am absolutely stunned it's taken 2 years to get those sent to us, because I was appointed by the selectmen in the interim time period between the charter being accepted and the charter taking effect to chair the first committee on those bylaws, and we were able to wrap it up within 6 months, and I thought it was in pretty good shape then. So why it's taken 2 more years to get them forward to the council, that in itself is a question which I do not understand, and I think I'm happy to hear you're working on that. But in the meantime, to have policies on the books and not be aware of them as the chief operating officer or not be following them, that is not what the charter says. The charter says all policies and bylaws will remain in effect. And I think that, and the reason it came to my attention, like I say, is a constituent forwarded me this email, which in my opinion was not in compliance with the customer service policy. So I wanted to inquire as to how we are doing that. But I can't stress enough how much for many years, and it was certainly here when I was here, and I'm proud of being the author of the policy, frankly, in my administration, but it was also followed, to the best of my knowledge, by subsequent town managers. And to see it suddenly seem to be ignored is a little bothersome to me, because
We're not ignoring it.
well, you are ignoring it because you are ignoring it because the customer service policy, which was adopted and is still in place, has specific timelines in it for responses to emails. That's one thing it does. So in responses to phone calls and that type of thing. So you are ignoring it. You are not complying with it. You may not be ignoring it, but you're not complying with it. And, you know, I guess I can understand sometimes maybe it needs to go more than 24 hours, but to see a citizen write a legitimate request for a relatively simplistic thing, it wasn't that complicated, to receive an email that says, you know, it doesn't say this, but the way I read it, it says, thank you very much. Don't contact us. We'll contact you. That's pretty much what it says. Or philosophy behind it, at least, is people aren't always going to like the answer, okay? We can't do everything people want, but we can tell them why we can't do it. And I think that's important.
I called the office. I'm aware that her office is much more staffed than the former town manager. He had a secretary. She has 4 people in her office. So I'm surprised it's so much more difficult to answer questions. But I called one day to ask a question. I got this CPO, and she said she was busy and I should file a FOIA request. I found that outrageous. The city council has to file a FOIA request to get information. I had a question about appointments from my district. So I find that a bad sign if I'm talked to that way, what kind of response the public gets. And I didn't actually get the information. Someone else also requested he got the information. So I hope her staff can get together and figure out, there's 4 of them available there, how they're going to get this work done and provide better customer service.
A mayor's office compared to a town manager's office are 2 different things. There is much more volume that comes into a mayor's office because it's a much more visible position, and a lot more people seek help through the mayor's office than a town manager's office. Typically, a lot of the volume for the town manager would come in through the board, through selectmen, and that way, and now a lot comes into the mayor's office. So there is a difference, but as far as information, yeah, we try to provide, especially for councilors, all the information that we can so that the council can do its job.
This customer service issue is something that's been going on since day one. And at day one, hey, everybody's new, I get it. We've taken the citizen participation officer who was supposed to be out working in the community and made them an administrator, answering calls, doing work in the mayor's office, and we still cannot get responses for our residents or our counselors. This is not the first time a counselor has been told to do a FOIA request to do their job. It's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. We are all public servants. No matter how big your salary is, you are a public servant, and so is everyone in this building, a public servant, here to serve the public. So I would hope that instead of abandoning the customer service policy that has existed, that our residents have been pleased with, that perhaps you would spend some time spreading the word around your office so that the people of Framingham can be served by the people they're paying.
Yeah, just because Mrs. Grove once again gave a great example of the messaging that you had previously said doesn't exist in the building. The Freedom of Information Act is a law of last resort. A city councilor shouldn't have to file a FOIA request for basic public information. Everything we do here is public. Fundamentally, a resident of the city of Framingham really shouldn't have to submit a FOIA request. There has always, I used to as an active town meeting member, but no one, when Mrs. Grove and I were working together, we would request information all the time, and we were nobody, and we didn't know anybody, but we were getting information pretty quickly and collaboratively. I request the same information now that I'm an elected member of the city council of the city of Framingham, and that's another example of, hey, it's been a month. The Secretary of State's office has a problem with it, and I've been very patiently giving you the opportunity to fix it. But clearly, as we have this discussion, this is not, this is a widespread issue that is hampering the meaningful collaboration between the branches of government and our collective service to the public. You're abusing the FOIA rule, and you're withholding information that every other community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and Framingham prior to January 1st of 2018 has always provided publicly. Almost everything that I bring up in these conversations is brought up with emails. Almost exclusively that is the case. And usually before it gets here, it's following up on the email and following up on the email and following up on the email. And the examples that Mr. King gave of a constituent forwarded something, that's how I hear about a lot of these things. Because a resident has reached out and reached out and reached out and says, Mike, you seem to get things done. Can you help me with this? The lack of urgency, but, I've done everything I can, as have I think my colleagues, to indicate that we're trying to avoid encounters like this, but
We've just been listening to it for 2 years, and it's not effective.
Dr. Steiner, you'd be recognized, please, okay?
I'm pretty proud of the results that I deliver. I'm asking for your help in making it easier for me to continue to deliver the results that I do.
Your message
And I'll
has
leave
been
it
made.
there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But take the messages, I think the messages are universal here, that there is an issue.